Welcome back. This is part 3 of Yoga for Complete Beginners. I am standing because we're going to start standing. So often in a flow posture-based yoga class, we would start grounded in a seat, maybe in child's pose or all the way on our backs, but you can also start a class standing. And since these are smaller, truncated classes, we're going to focus our postures today on standing postures. So why not start standing? You can start at the front of the mat, or you can just stand on the middle of the mat and face me, whatever feels better. We'll start by shaking out our legs and our arms. Might feel silly, but especially if you've been in a seat most of the day, it may feel good to wake up the muscles, wake up the joints. And then we'll stand with light knees, a little micro bend in the knees, a little bit bigger than hip distance. And we'll start to take our arms out, and we're just going to find these little wraps. So we're inhaling as we reach our arms out, and then we're wrapping our arms around, or you can just swing your arms if that feels better. So little lightness in the knees, little lightness in the chest, and we'll inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Awesome. So we're finding a little bit of heat building here. You can find these little short inhales and exhales if that feels good. Take another round or two. Awesome. Shake it out. And then ground down, feet about hip distance. Take your arms out wide, so we're back into that mountain or Tadasana pose, our base foundation for our standing postures. And then take the shoulders up to the ears and then roll them back down the spine. A couple times like that. I like to get the whole body involved, bend in the knees and roll. Don't worry about if you're looking silly, because you're not, so no one can see you. If you can hear that cracking, that's one of my knees. Hopefully that doesn't pick up on the camera. And then roll the shoulders forward. Awesome. Big rolls. And then we've done cat-cow several different ways. We've done it from a seat. We've done it from tabletop. There's also a way to do cat-cow from standing. So we're going to take our hands to our knees and then find sort of a flat back. So we don't want to overextend. We don't want to tuck under too much. Find a nice flat back, hands are on the knees. And we're going to do our cat-cows from here, so finding that spinal movement. So open the chest, draw the shoulders back, take an inhale. And then exhale, round the spine, tuck the chin. Maybe the hands go down the knees a little. And then draw the hands back, draw the shoulders back. Inhale, cat-cow pose. And then exhale, round, puff up between the shoulders, tuck the chin, cat pose. Awesome. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Take one or two more rounds. And then next time you round forward all the way. Take a big bend in the knees. Find a forward fold. Rest your chest on your thighs. You can reach your hands to foam blocks or books if you have them. Or maybe your hands touch the earth. Or maybe you grab for opposite elbows. Frame out your face like we did before. The ragdoll arm variation. And then find stillness. And then we're just going to work the head a little. So drop the chin to the chest. And then rise the head up. So shaking your head, yes. And then shaking it, no. Yes. And no. And then inhale, halfway lift. Hands come to the shins or maybe to the thighs. Draw the shoulders back. And then exhale, fold. Root down, rise up, reach. So we're finding that little half sun salutation. Fingertips come together. I'm just turning towards you so you can see. You can still stay facing forward. Hands come to heart. And then we're going to work just a little bit of shoulder and side body movement here from standing. So inhale, reach. Palms touch. Exhale, hands come down through heart. Two more times like that. Inhale, reach. Big inhale. Exhale, hands down. Inhale, reach. Exhale, hands come together. Okay, this time inhale, reach. And then we're going to drop our right arm over, left arm reaches up and over. Find that side body. So we talked about the 6 movements of the spine in the part 2 class. So we're going to find those from standing. Inhale, palms touch. Exhale, reach it up and over. So left arm comes down, right arm reaches. Doesn't matter which side you started with, we'll do both. Again, try not to hyperextend the legs. Take a little gentle bend in the knees. Inhale, palms touch. Exhale, reach it up and over. So we already did the first two movements of the spine, the forward and back in our cat-cows. And now we're doing those side-to-side movements. And switch. One more time each way, palms touch. Take it over, reach, maybe drag that hand down the leg a little bit more. Back to center, and switch. Awesome. Shake it out, release it out. We found a little bit of our twist in our wraps to start class. So we've twisted a little bit, enough to get moving. So we're gonna start working on some of the foundational standing postures in yoga, which I'm sure you've heard in popular culture. Warrior 1 and Warrior 2 are sort of our most base standard postures for a standing practice. So we'll workshop those two postures. We'll kind of talk about the difference. And I'm gonna caveat everything I'm gonna say with everyone's body is shaped differently. Even if you were the exact same height and weight and gender as me, your pelvis might be shaped differently. The way that your hips come into your femur bone, comes into your hip might be different. So I'm gonna give you some cues. If it doesn't feel good in your body, adjust your stance, adjust the bend in your knee. It's not gonna look the same as it does in my body, and that is okay and good. We're all very different. So we'll start at the top of our mat, feet about hip distance apart. We're gonna work a little balance here to get into our postures. So we're gonna draw our left knee up, like our left knee is gonna come in line with our hip, and then melt the shoulders down. So we're pulling the belly button into the spine. If the balance feels like way too much, bring one of your blocks and place your toes on the block or your foot on the block and use that as your balance point. You can also grab for the wall. Balance is not something that you have to do yoga, but we will certainly start to cultivate balance in our practice. And then draw the left knee back. We're gonna step our left foot back. So just step it where it lands. Don't worry about how far it is to start. We're gonna move into our Warrior 1 posture. The Sanskrit or yoga language term for that is Virdrasana 1. So for me, I'm gonna bend deep into the front right knee. A lot of people cue, don't let your knee go past your ankle. At the end of the day, there's nothing magical about it staying just above. Your knee goes past your ankle in all sorts of movements like walking upstairs. So it's a good starting point to have your knee over your ankle and your knee coming more towards the pinky toe side of your foot. So we don't want our knees to knock in, if that makes sense. That can put some pressure on the knee. And then our back foot, so in this case our left foot, is grounded if that feels okay. For some people, getting the heel on the earth doesn't feel good. So you could pop up and find more of a lunge here. But if you want to find a traditional Warrior 1, heel can come down. Back foot is at a 45-degree angle. So right toe is facing forward, back left toe is facing 45. Our hip points are squaring towards the front. So these hip points, the front of our pelvis, might be squaring towards your right knee, but they may not, right? So if that doesn't feel comfortable, you don't have to get it all the way square. And then we're gonna inhale, rise the arms up. Find a little micro bend in the elbows, allow the shoulders to rest a little bit away from the ears. And you're probably feeling a lot of activity, opening hip flexors here, right quad starting to talk to you. So let's release and just step our left foot back to the front, shake it out. So it may not look like much if you're just watching the video instead of practicing, but our warrior postures are a lot of work in our legs. And so we're not gonna try to hold them too long when we're practicing. We'll hold them a little longer now because we're workshopping. So let's try the other side on that. So your left leg is gonna stay down. Our right knee is gonna come up, find the stork posture. Right knee straight out from the ankle, foot is flexed. Use your balance. So for balancing postures, root down through your grounded foot. Think about pulling belly button to spine. Think about a string pulling the crown of your head high. And then we're gonna step our right foot back. Again, step it back, figure out where it lands. If you feel like you want a wider stance, you can certainly step it out wider. In Warrior 1, we want our feet to be more like on train tracks, not on a tightrope. So you want some space here. Think about how wide your pelvis is, how wide your hips are away from each other. That's about the space that you want. If that doesn't feel like enough balance, you can certainly wiggle your toes a little wider and farther away from each other. Give yourself some more space. So bend into your left knee. Back heel is down, back foot is at 45. Again, these are starting points. If it doesn't feel good, adjust. Maybe draw your right hip forward. Inhale, rise the arms up. So this is warrior one. Warrior one is a front facing posture. Find your breath. Awesome. Step your right foot up to meet your left, shake it out. So your legs might be tired, one warrior one on each side. It's totally reasonable. I practice yoga all the time. When I'm not warmed up, when I haven't done warriors in a couple of days, it's exhausting. So that's okay. If you need to take a break, take one. We'll continue to workshop these standing postures. So we're going to work into warrior two. Warrior two is a side facing standing posture. So let's take the same transition as before. So we're going to re-step to the front of our mat. Our right foot is going to ground down. Think about spreading your toes. You're grounding down through the ball of your foot, the heel of your foot, your toes. And then lift your left, you can even just kickstand your left knee up if that feels better, or lift it up, find that stork pose. And then step your left foot back. This time we're going to open to the long end of our mat, and our back left foot is parallel to the short end of our mat. So depending on where your mat's facing versus your camera, but what matters is that if you're on a long piece of carpet, if you're not on a mat or you're on a mat, your hips and your pelvis are facing the long end of your mat. Again, your front leg, which in this case is your right, is taking a nice deep bend, but don't go too far. So always back out of the bend if you feel like you've gone too far. And in this case, we are on more of a tightrope. So some alignment cues that may be helpful. Front heel makes a line if you bisected your mat. Front heel bisects the center of the back foot. So we are on a bit more of a tightrope here. Take your arms out, gaze over the front fingertips, roll the shoulders back and down. If you find in a class that you're holding warrior two a little longer than you feel like you want to, you can always come out, or if it's just the arms that are getting tired, flip the palms. Sort of changes how it feels in the shoulders, gives yourself a little break. Warrior two, our traditional drishti, which is the Sanskrit word for where our focus is or our gaze, is out over that front middle finger. But again, there's no magical rhyme or reason. If you want to look somewhere else, totally fine. Warrior two. Awesome. This time we'll just take the hands together, walk the feet in, shake it out, and then we'll step the other way. So I'm going to start from the other side so I continue to face you. You go to the front of your mat. This time ground down through the feet. Your right knee is going to come up, either kickstand it or stork. And then we're going to step the right foot out nice and wide towards the back of your mat. Again, we're coming into warrior two this time. So hips and shoulders are facing the long end of your mat. This is a sideways facing pose. Bend deep into your left knee. And then gaze down at your feet. So I'm about 5'5". I'm not super tall, but I tend to go pretty wide in this pose. It may feel too wide. You may want to be more like here. It's totally fine. Bend into the left knee. Check out, maybe front heel is in line with the arch of the back foot. And then let's do it. Arms up. Gaze over the front fingertips. Reach. Feel like you're reaching to the ends of the earth. And then find your breath. Warrior two. Virabhadrasana two. If the arms tire, flip the palms. Awesome. We're workshopping here. We're not exactly flowing one pose to the next. So just step your feet together. Shake it out. Okay, so warrior one, it's going to be different for everybody, but in general, hips and shoulders are facing towards the front of your mat or the short end. Warrior two, hips and shoulders are facing more to the long end. So start facing forward, we go facing sideways. Every class is not necessarily going to take you straight from warrior one to warrior two. Some classes you'll just do warrior two and you'll work other postures from there, which we'll talk about when we get to a different part of this beginner workshop. However, you often will go from warrior one to warrior two. So let's quickly do that and then we'll put it all together. So start back at the front. Your left foot is going to kickstand or rise it up into stork. And then we're going to step it back. We're starting with warrior one this time. So hips and shoulders towards the front. Feet can go a little wider, get a wider foundation and base. Bend in the front knee. Back foot more at 45 degrees. Rise it up. Again, if you need to turn the toes out a bit more, take your stance wider. You do you. Find your warrior one. Big round of breath. Awesome. Open up warrior two. So we're going to spin the back toes. Maybe you wiggle your front foot in. Try to find that heel to arch alignment as your starting point. And then bend back into your knee, warrior two. So we've turned the hips and the shoulders from the front in warrior one to the side in warrior two. And here we are in warrior two. Awesome. We're going to add on one more little pose just for fun, because it's one that's often added on here. And that's reverse or peaceful warrior. So take your right hand, legs stay the same, reach it up and over, find this nice side body opening. Awesome. And then step to the front, shake it out. We'll do the other side. So I'm going to do the other side so don't turn away from you. Root down. Right knee comes into kickstand or knee in front of ankle. Step it back. Warrior one. Hips and shoulders face towards the front. Back foot 45. Bend in the knee. Rise the arms up. So we're on our railroad tracks here. Take a big inhale. Open up warrior two. So spin the back foot. Notice if you can kind of make that a fluid transition. And then maybe your feet are already in line, heels arch. Warrior two, side facing. Gaze over your front fingertips. And then we'll take that reverse or peaceful warrior, flip the left palm, reach forward first, and then take it up and over, reach towards the corner where the ceiling meets the wall. Awesome. Let it go. Step it together. Shake it out. So we've talked warrior one, warrior two, and reverse or peaceful. So that is a lot of things to learn in one little segment. So let's come down to the mat, close our class together. You can always go back and rewatch this as many times as you want. But it's nice to sometimes stay and start standing, but let's ground ourselves back down. So however you want to get to your mat, we'll do a couple of seated postures that are fairly common in our practice. We're going to start with bound angle. So soles of the feet are together. I'll scooch back a little so you can see. Soles of the feet are together, knees are wide. So you're making a diamond shape with the legs. If this feels like a lot, which it might, take your blocks or your books and prop your knees up so they're not doing so much work. If this still feels like too much, just extend your legs out long. You want to be comfortable. We're never forcing ourselves into a shape. Sit up nice and tall. And then exhale, just hinge forward. Hinge forward any degree. And you might feel some compression because we're shortening that angle between our torso and our legs. So some compression on the front of the hips, that's okay as long as it's not painful. Inhale, rise up. Then we'll all extend our legs wide if you're not already there. And then sit up nice and tall. Exhale, walk your hands down. So you may only get a couple of inches before you feel a pretty intense stretch on the inside of the legs. So stay there. If you have blocks or your books, you can stack your arms there. Just hang out. Look like the cool kid in school. Legs are fairly active. We want to flex our toes back. We feel a lot of sensation in the legs. Check in with our breath. Awesome. Rise up. And then we'll take one more set of little series here. So draw your right sole of the foot in. Left leg extends long. And then turn towards your extended leg and start to walk down. So we're getting into the QL here, especially you may feel good. If it feels like too much, back out. Inhale, rise, back up and switch. So right leg extends long, left leg pulls in, sit up nice and tall, and then turn and switch. So I'm trying to mirror you. I've kind of forgotten if Facebook reverses the video when it goes live. So hopefully I'm mirroring you. If not, just listen to the cues. Zoom is different and I always forget which one is which. So yeah, that's how it goes. What matters is that you do both sides. Awesome. Inhale, rise up. Now let's just close our class in a seat. So normally we would come all the way down on our backs, find ourselves in a nice long Savasana, but since these are more like just little workshops, we won't kind of do the full beginning to end type class. However, I have lots of 30 and 45 minute classes that have sort of the full bell curve of how a class normally goes. Starting grounded, doing some warm-up things, eventually moving into lunges, some sun salutations, standing postures, and then kind of riding that wave back down into inversions, twist, and eventually your full final resting pose, your Savasana. So you're welcome to check out those full videos if you feel ready to move on. But since we are just workshopping little segments here, let's close our class together in a seat. So legs can be long or extended if seat isn't comfortable, or sit up on your blanket or your block. Stack your palms over your chest. Thank yourself for showing up today, for showing up on your mat, for doing something nice for your body, for moving it in unique ways. Find gratitude for your breath's constant presence, doing the work behind the scenes as you go through life, as you move through your practice. Find gratitude for your ability to find and cultivate stability, mobility, and balance. Thinking about our yoga practice as a tool to find those things, not a tool to find fancy, crazy, Instagram-worthy postures, but to find a little bit more mobility in our bodies, or balance, or stability, so that we can go through our everyday life with less pain and a little more ease. So that's the goal of these practices. Hope you find a little bit of that in your practice today. The light in me sees and honors the light in each of you. I bow in gratitude and say thank you so much for showing up on your mat, for showing up to practice with me. Take a moment to remind yourself that you are enough just as you are right now. You have always been enough. You will always be enough. No changes needed and no apologies necessary. Thanks, yogis, for showing up, for practicing with me. If you have friends or family members who might want to start a yoga practice, send them my way. Have them start back on part 1, and I will be back with part 4 sometime soon. Thanks so much.